tranquility and wholeness, y'all. So, Pride Month is over, right? I've never really resonated with the political side of that. You know what I'm saying? I feel like people's sexuality and sensuality is very sacred. And honestly, it's none of anybody's business of what you do behind closed doors. I do want to say that. These are my views. At the same time, because we are in such a pivotal transition, building the new earth, we have to talk about the things that make us uncomfortable, the things that maybe have divided us or have people have been suppressed over certain topics when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to sexuality. Like, it's really all tied together, right? And so it's cool that our generation is having these discussions about what do we deem as acceptable, and everybody's view is always different. It's also cool to know that when a society is breaking down, or a civilization, I should say, is coming to an end, to be rebuilt from the ashes, we do have to call into question our morality. We question what's right, what's wrong. What do we feel as a collective, as a society, pretty much like goes? You know, like, what is our moral compass? So I want to talk about my sexuality because it is a part of my spiritual journey. And the more I try to divide the two, the more I fall into this trap of separation, me thinking or feeling like I'm separate from the divine just because I am expressing a unique energy that I personally didn't even know was there until I started to go deeper into self, you know? And then I have memories like coming up from childhood of like, oh yeah, like, okay, nothing bad happened to me like that, you know? I wasn't abused in that way. Like, at the same time, it's like I've always just been an androgynous being. Like, I feel balanced in my feminine, my divine feminine, and my divine masculine. Now, when we talk about femininity in ancient times, like the yin energy, that's the darkness, that's the mystery. It's soft but not weak, you know? It's reserved, it listens, it's creative, it's abstract, it's imaginative. Right? It's the occult, the hidden aspects of ourselves. Then we have the light, which is the masculine energy ran by the sun, and it's about like doing and rather than being, like the feminine. But it's doing, it's executing, it's taking action, it's aggression, it's more sharp edges when we're talking about art. So for me, I do my best to keep a balance of the divine feminine and divine masculine energies within my being, because that's what source is. Neter, NTR, or nature, right? The great goddess and God that is source is this perfect balance of masculine and feminine energy to create all things. Now, growing up in a religious household, I was told that it's wrong for a woman and a woman to be together, right? And that's, I shouldn't say right, but that's what was told to me because they can't reproduce. So if we talk about reproduction as a way to validate love, then we have to also think about, what about heterosexual couples, right? A man and a woman that come together in love, yet they aren't able to reproduce another living being together. Is that, now are we disqualifying their love? Are we invalidating their experience, right? So I question these things because what is love? That's my question. When we look at love or relationship, you relate to something. The relationship of the air in my lungs is life. It is love to me, right? So the relationship to the mycelium or the mushrooms with like this underground network that helps decompose toxicity within the land as well as within our own selves, right? Changing our brain chemistry and rewiring it for the better. That's love to me. So even though a physical child wasn't born from that relationship, that process, that's still love to me. When I think about Other relationships, right? How you, a sibling, like sibling relationship, or co-workers or friends, right? Like, are we saying that that's not true love just because they aren't reproducing? You know what I'm saying? So I question the validity of my religious conditioning that was passed down from generations to generations to generations, because before that, when we look into indigenous culture, which I'm indigenous and so-called most Black Americans are, we got to think about what we're drawn to. And so for that being said, when we look into history, there's polyamory, there's same-sex couples together throughout history, and the focus of those relationships or that divine connection is not to bring a child into the world. At the same time, it does serve its purpose by serving as a divine connection to be able to build altruism, trust, as well as connection, communication, and emotional intelligence within a society. And because there are certain genetics that influence what we call homosexuality, you have to look at the genes, the gene pool, and why, if there was not a need for homosexuality in our human society, then we would have outgrown that gene. It would have been a recessive gene that nobody uses anymore, just like there's different parts of evolution of our body that we don't have anymore that we used to have, right? A lot of people have wisdom teeth, but they're starting to take those out, which is a whole different story. But you get the point. Like, our teeth, our structure is different. We're evolving as a human species, and if homosexuality wasn't significant within our human society, then we wouldn't need it anymore. So when I think about genetics and I think about why did the creator make this, because I was telling one of my family members, like, although you don't agree, like if I'm with a woman, you don't agree with that, at the same time, we must question, why did God create this? If we believe that there's one source, right, who's omnipresent, yes, thank you, source. If we know that, yes, come on, if we know that there's one source who's omniscient, omnipresent, right, omnipotent, all-knowing, all-powerful, all-present, then that means that God is everywhere. This great goddess God, this divine masculine, divine feminine source, this neter, this nature, is creating everything. So to say that, oh, homosexuality or whatever, your sexuality isn't of God, what do you mean of God? You mean because God is everything. So I also at the same time feel as if, because the government knows and has studied genetics and has also has seen indigeneity from a standpoint of that tribal living with nations of people who live in polyamory, right? In a polyamorous community or relationships. They outlawed, the American government, which was created by foreigners that migrated here, outlawed polygamy because they knew that brown folks was going to keep reproducing, because this family structure has always made sense for us. When we think of polyamory, that doesn't mean that everybody is just doing sexual stuff together. It's deeper than that, right? It has to be built on, in my perspective, consciousness, because you have to be aware of where that special energy is going, whether that's your heart energy or that sacred, sacral, sexual energy, that creative energy is going. And I think just how sexuality is viewed in the modern sense, it's like it's overly sexualized. Like, where is the sacredcy of sexuality? Like, when I look on the internet, like just on social media, it feels as if, specifically even like the pride movement, it's just overly sexualized. Like, it doesn't feel like as if people are seeing their sexuality as sacred. It's so commercialized now by the government that it's just become a political movement and also an agenda to throw shade at people who love differently, who are heterosexual. And I don't think that is right. Like, just because you were thrown hate, don't throw hate back, because that doesn't make love, right? That doesn't create a safe space for people to express themselves. And it's like, again, You should just do what you feel is best behind closed doors, and that could be between you and the Most High and your partner or whoever you're with, the people or the person you're with. So for me, because my life, pretty much my journey is public, and as many times as I've done my due diligence to hide different parts of myself, they keep coming up. And so at this point, it's only out of self-respect and honor for my divine path to share, not everything, but what I feel called to share. And so with my sexuality, I have dealt with that for years. I have suppressed myself tremendously. Woo, I feel my throat chakra doing something because I'm talking about this. Where's my water? Oh great, I left it. It's fine. I am water. It kind of like flares me up a little bit because of the amount of judgment that is thrown from people who don't even know me, right? They don't know my story. They think they know me because I've been open to a certain point, or they know who my parents are, they know who my brother is, and oh, blah, blah, blah. But like, nobody controls me. I barely control me because I'm just a channel. So for me, it's like with my sexuality, I have been not even questioning, but wrestling with the acceptance of what I know that I am. And the more I do like deep shadow work, the more I see that, oh, I've always been like this. I just didn't know how to name it because when I was younger, I wasn't naming things sexually. I just named it as attraction, and attraction doesn't always have to be sexual, right? So I've always been drawn to male and female, like pretty much balanced, but the only difference is I suppress so much of when I would feel something towards another woman, I would completely like block it out or numb myself, tell myself that's not right. I remember at a young age when I would see like just something random might pop up, like maybe I'm watching a movie with my family or friends or whatever, and if two people of the same sex are kissing or even flirting, I literally would like close my eyes and like shut my ears and be like, ew, like just tell myself it's gross because that's what was told to me. It was told it was wrong. I was also raised in a household where I was told I wasn't supposed to kiss any boys until I was married. So again, like the suppression is deeper. There's so many complexities and layers with just, oh, you can't like a woman. That was not even a discussion because they told us it was bad from the jump. So I ended up finally, and this is so much, but I ended up finally confronting what I was feeling, and I was at Howard University grad school, and I realized that most of my friends were either like they identified as queer, or they were questioning, or they felt like they needed to suppress themselves and they weren't happy about that, you know? And so even within college and a little bit after, I left Howard to study shamanism deeper and spirituality and music, I came across I attracted this friend group in my life of all, like, I'll say sensual / sexually liberated, magical, mystical beings, right? They were all like gay witches basically. And I was like, why are they coming to me? Why am I friends with these people? You know, I think they're really cool. I vibe with them. I felt so close with them. And it was low-key like a coven, you know? But then I started to like deny things. They would like be like, oh, well, you're gay. Like I had a roommate that just kept saying, you gay. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Am I? No, I'm not. And I just kept pushing it down. Then 2022, I had like a 6-gram mushroom journey. And it was like, it was pretty strong. So it felt like it was way more than 6 grams. So anyway, I was stuck in this loop of my mom saying, you have to go to hell because you're gay. And I'm like, huh? And at first I was devastated. I was literally in fetal position during this mushroom ceremony, and it kept replaying in my head, and I felt so much shame, so much guilt, so much hatred, like, and then I started having like suicidal ideation for the first time coming up from my subconscious mind, and I was like being lured into the water, like something was telling me like, just go drown yourself, you know, just go in the river, you have to go to hell, like just do it, you know. Obviously I didn't go and do it. This is just what's playing in my mind. And by that point in time, like after so many hours being in that loop, I finally was like, okay, like, oh, I have to go to hell, okay. And then I just accepted it. And then when I accepted it, that is when the loop stopped. when I decided to get myself out of hell, which was in this loop of not feeling loved by the creator that made me, right? Or not feeling accepted by my parents, or being judged by religious people, or so much shame and guilt and doubt and just self-loathing, all that. Once I stopped that loop and I accepted the fact that I would have to go to hell if I were to actually be attracted to women like that, that's when the loop stopped. And I realized that the loop itself is the hell. So hell and heaven are these state of beings that we create within ourselves. It's not anything that is far off, right? The Pharisees are the ones, right? The same religious people, even in modern day, those are the ninjas that are saying, oh, where's heaven? And they're pointing at the sky and they're waiting for heaven and they're waiting for all this stuff to happen, when Luke 17:21 says the kingdom of heaven is within. So for me, I'm done being in hell, because hell is also within us. Hell is something that we create. Heaven and hell are states of being. So it's like, when I finally get out that loop of not accepting myself because of my sexuality, or because of how I think or how I feel, and just, I either choose to damn myself in this everlasting loop of hell, which is eternity, right? Or I can choose to tap into that heaven, which is love, which is bliss. It's self-acceptance. It is calling on the divine and realizing and acknowledging the essence of the Most High, the great goddess and God that is within me, that is living out my life uniquely. Everybody's a channel. Everybody's channeling the divine in a different way. We're all one source living in different human experiences. So for me to judge myself and to judge others does nothing but create a space of hell. So now that I'm realizing that, I'm reflecting on my relationship with myself as I am thinking about my sexuality and accepting myself of who I am, because I love men and I love women in different ways, and they serve different purposes in my life. And for me to again embody this balance of divine feminine, divine masculine within my being makes sense as to why I've always just been like that. And it's taken a lot of pushing past fear, and I'm going to share more of that on this YouTube channel, on this podcast, in bits and pieces. But I just want to say, like, the moment we start to accept ourselves of who we are and how we are channeling the divine essence in the present moment, the more peace we have, the more bliss we embody, the more completeness and wholeness and tranquility that we actually feel within our being. Like right now, I feel like I'm flowing because I'm finally speaking up about this, and I'm doing what makes me happy. I'm expressing myself artistically, despite what everybody else says, because it's like people feel like they own my expression and want to put me in a box. They feel like, oh, because you are this, or I think you're like that, and I assume you're this and that, I'm going to make you into what I want you to be, which is only a self-projection, right? It's a projection of their self-perception of what they want to be. But then it's like, if anybody who's trying to control your expression is not happy with their own. So it always comes back to, are you embodying your divine presence? Are you embodying divinity uniquely through your being? And if not, instead of trying to control others' expression with all of your unnecessary and unimportant opinions about other people, you can go and meditate and go within and figure out, why are you unhappy with your life and feel the need to control others? So for me, I've been on both spectrums. I have been unhappy with my life and tried to control others, and I've been controlled by unhappy people. And now I'm finally seeing, with more awareness being expanded within my consciousness, that I am, and we are who we say we are, and no one can tell you who you are, what you like, what to wear, what to say. Like, all of that's BS. How to vote, whatever. Like, they can share their opinion, but it's up to you to really go within, check in with the divine, and ask, how does this feel within my body? How does this feel within my essence, and am I able to express that authentically? So thank you. I hope that this episode was enlightening. I'm just sharing what I feel on platforms that are accepting of the longer portions, and just being delicate with my own journey, going at my own pace, and also just being myself. So thank you again. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and send it to somebody. Put down the comments. I love reading everybody's comments, and I appreciate your divine expression. And I will see you all soon, whenever the next episode is, and subscribe to stay up to date with that. wholeness, completeness, tranquility. Bye.